Book Tuesdays. I think that we're live. I think we're working. We seem to be working. Okay. It would not let me share my screen with you again. So once again, we're going to be sadly without the book covers, which, you know, some of these are pretty neat book covers. So it'd be nice if you guys could see them. But why do you still say that? Why must you do these things to me, Facebook? I do not understand. Okay. Let's just carry on in spite of technical difficulties. I'm Lisa. I'll be your librarian today. For today's Tea and New Book Tuesday, maybe I'm glad you can't see the slides because I forgot to change the date. We're going to talk about historical fiction and then rather appropriately some historical nonfiction. So Gold Labels and the 900s. Start off. Okay, so this is the good thing about being on camera. I can show you this. Today's giveaway is going to be Murder by Milk Bottle by best-selling author Lynne Truss. This doesn't come out until November 10th, but you could have it in your hands by early next week. All you have to do is tell me your favorite genre and the location where you would pick up the book if you were to win it. Put that in the comments down below, and I will draw a name on Saturday morning and send it out. All right. Moving right along, I am drinking my Tazo Vanilla Bean Macaron, which is my favorite tea. It's a black tea. And very necessary if I'm going to talk for 15 minutes straight. I just reviewed I Want to Be Where the Normal People Are by Rachel Bloom, which comes out November 17th. My full review is up on Goodreads. The short version would be if you watched Crazy Ex-Girlfriend on CW. She's one of the writer co-creators of that show. This is very much her humor. It's very Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. It's a little about her experiencing OCD and being a weird theater kid and how very unnecessary it is to be normal and all those kinds of things. I found it really funny. I enjoyed every page of it. It's a little bawdy, so if you don't mind your humor a little dirty here and there, I think you might enjoy it. But as I said, it comes out November 17th. Next up, I am going to read Broken in the Best Possible Way by Jenny Lawson, which does not come out until April 6th of 2021. Lawson is a #1 New York Times bestselling author. She's one of my favorite authors. She's mostly a humorist, but she also talks about mental health struggles and all sorts of things like that. She's fabulous. I'm sure I'm going to love it. All right, let's go on to Gold Labels, what I'm calling made-up history, as in historical fiction. Our first book is In Love with George Eliot by Kathy O'Shaughnessy. It's a debut novel. It's about, okay, so first of all, there is the real George Eliot, whose real name was Marianne Evans. She wrote under her pseudonym was George Eliot. She was an editor and literary critic. And then she was an editor and literary critic under her name, under Marianne Evans, and then she wrote fiction under George Eliot. This book is a combination of a fictional retelling of Evans' writing and publishing years, but also modern characters reading and reflecting on her work. The historical section addresses how Eliot/Evans's fame started to affect her personal life. And early readers are putting in it between 3 and 4 stars. It comes out on November 7th. And in case I didn't say this up top, these are all pre-orders that are available for holds. There's already a record in our catalog here at MPL, but we are buying all of these. Okay, The Bright and Breaking Sea by Chloe Neal. Neal is the best-selling author of the Chicagoland Vampire series, which we have like a dozen of them. They've checked out really well and been really popular. This is the beginning of a new series that she's calling the Captain Kit Brightening series. The story is of Kit brightening writing? I don't know. Anyway, who was an orphan but was raised in a home for talented girls, and she becomes one of very few ship captains in the British Navy, I think. And she appears to have a magical affinity for the sea. She, in this first book, is going to be on a rescue mission to rescue a spy, and is forced to bring along with her a Viscount who she does not trust. The early reviews are giving it a solid 4 to 5 stars. It comes out on November 17th. Okay. Miss Benson's Beetle by Rachel Joyce. It looks like it's 2 women out on a nature adventure in the 1950s. The author, is Rachel Joyce, is the best-selling author of The Unlikely Pilgrimage of Harold Fry, which we own both as a book and as an audiobook. But the story of Miss Benson's Beetle is a 1950s school teacher / spinster decides to just abandon her life and go off on an expedition on the other side of the world, searching for an insect that people believe exists but have never fully proven that it exists. She needs to take along with her someone, so she puts an ad in the paper for a companion. And so it's about this 2 women's adventures and them maybe becoming friends. There's nearly 1,000 early reviews on Goodreads. I think that's because this may be another one that got delayed because of COVID. So a lot of people got a chance to read the arcs, especially on like NetGalley and Edelweiss. But they're giving it an average score of 4.33 stars, which is pretty good. And that comes out November 24th. Yes. Okay. A Lady's Guide to Mischief and Mayhem by Amanda Collins. This is a little bit of a historical rom-com. A female reporter in 1865 London believes knowledge is power, but after she witnesses a murder, she's accused of inflaming rather than informing the public. The lead investigator is under pressure to solve the case, but also doesn't want her to wreck it or believe she might wreck it. They spar, but they maybe fall in love. Early reviews are putting it around 4 stars, and it's worth pointing out that Amanda Collins is a local author and a librarian. She's written a ton of romance. We own a lot of them. And A Lady's Guide to Mischief and Mayhem comes out November 10th. Okay. Zarina by Ellen Aldston, Alpstn, which comes out November 10th. This is a debut historical fiction about Catherine the Great. They often have other best-selling authors read a book early so that they can put quotes from that author on the book. A bunch of Paul Tremblay's books have Stephen King quoted on them, and it's usually someone in their genre. And I can't remember which author said this, but I thought it was funny. They said that it makes Game of Thrones look like a nursery rhyme, but it's Catherine trying to keep the secret that the Tsar is dying and then dies. And if she fails, then Russia may fall into just utter chaos. There's tons of early reviews, and they're giving it a solid 4 stars. That was Zarina by Ellen Aldston, and it comes out November 10th. Okay. Midnight Train to Prague by Carol Wimbley is a World War II fiction, and it begins in 1927, but it goes past, the storyline goes through the war and past it, and includes a main character spending time in a concentration camp because she's accused of being a Nazi spy. This one made me think of something I've seen several times, and we can play a little game right now. How many World War II books do you think the Mobile Public Library is buying in November? If I had music, I would play it. Be like, do, 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 something like that. You can include this fiction book. And the answer is 7. We are buying 7 books about World War II in November. I'm not going to go in depth on any of them because there are 7 of them, but it's runs the gamut from Nazi wives to the the Nazis attacking the British and attacking Italy and all sorts of stuff like that. So you're welcome to go looking for them if you're interested in that topic. Now let's move on to historical nonfiction in the 900s. Okay, first up is Rome is Burning, Nero and the Fire That Ended a Dynasty, which comes out on November 10th and is by Anthony A. Barrett. According to legend, Nero set the fire and then sat there playing his fiddle while Rome burned. Now, the legend isn't true. But the aftermath of this fire was devastating for Nero's image and was a big turning point in Roman history. The author is an expert on Roman history specifically and has written several other titles on that. He's written this one using new archaeological evidence. This is probably going to be the source in the coming years on the subject of this fire. There's no early reviews yet, but that's pretty typical for nonfiction. And Barrett's other books on Roman history came in at around 4 stars. That comes out on November 10th. The Last American Aristocrat, The Brilliant Life and Improbable Education of Henry Adams by David S. Brown. Henry Adams is the great-grandson of founding father John Adams. His autobiography, The Education of Henry Adams, was widely considered one of the best English language books of the 20th century. Adams lived through the Civil War and the Industrial Revolution. He met Abraham Lincoln. He met Queen Victoria. He considered Theodore Roosevelt to be like a friend and neighbor. Because of this, Brown uses Adams' letters to give us an idea of what he thought of all of these people and these events that were going on throughout his life. Brown also endeavors to make Adams feel very modern and human despite the sort of epic time he lived through. There's literally only 4 reviews on this so far, and they're all 5 stars. They're probably from people who are very interested in this topic, so take it with a little grain of salt. But it still looks interesting, and it comes out on November 10th. All right. The Patriots, Alexander Hamilton, Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, and the Making of America by Winston Groom. Winston Groom is a very popular author and usually writes fiction. He has written some other nonfiction. This isn't the first. This book focuses on 3 of the men that were in George Washington's first cabinet. So Hamilton, Jefferson, Adams. They were very different people and had very different viewpoints and ultimately made different contributions to the founding of America. And as we know from the Hamilton musical, they didn't get along and weren't buddies. There aren't many reviews on this yet, but it kind of doesn't matter. I feel like if you show up for a nonfiction book written by a fiction author, you're either very interested in the topic or more likely you're a fan of the author. So if you're a fan of Winston Groom, The Patriots comes out on November 3rd. All right. A Question of Freedom, The Families Who Challenged Slavery from the Nation's Founding to the Civil War by William G. Thomas. I'm going to read directly from the description because this is a little detailed, and I'm afraid I'll get it wrong if I don't. For over 70 years and 5 generations, the enslaved families of Prince George's County, Maryland, filed hundreds of suits for their freedom against a powerful circle of slaveholders, taking their cause all the way to the Supreme Court. Between 1787 and 1861, these lawsuits challenged the legitimacy of slavery in America and put slavery on trial in the nation's capital. I was really interested in this when I saw it, even though I know it's probably not like a fun read, but viewing slavery as a thing that was acceptable at a time but gradually became unacceptable still oversimplifies the situation. There were definitely people who spoke out against it almost as soon as it existed, and there were efforts to stop it for decades before the Civil War. So reading this might give a very human perspective on the evolution of that time period and the people who were fighting to end it long before the Civil War. Thomas is telling us the story of how our society both supported and fought against the inhumane practice, and he does so by focusing on the struggle of the human beings it affected the most. It comes out November 24th. All right. If you would like to win, well, say a copy, this is my only copy of Murder by Milk Bottle, which looks like it's a fun, cozy mystery. It's a Constable Twitten mystery by Lynne Truss. Go ahead and tell me your favorite genre and your MPL location that you like to pick up books in the comments down below. If you don't want to win the book, that's fine. You can also tell me in the comments what book you're most interested from today's show. And if you want to join me on the Goodreads group, I'm putting up full reviews of things I read before they come out. I'm also going to put up a notice as soon as Barack Obama's A Promised Land is available to put, is in our records, and you can put a hold on it. I'll put that up on Goodreads. And also more lengthy descriptions of each of these books if you want to go look at that and read reviews and stuff. Then you want to join us on the Goodreads group. If you would like our newsletter, New Book Highlights, I've got a link in the description. It allows you to read a description of the book, but you can also click on the title and go directly to our catalog from there. So that's always nice and convenient. And yep. Okay, join me next week. I'll probably be doing November leftovers, so things that didn't get on the new book list and haven't been discussed before. So all sorts of different genres. And I will see you next week. As soon as I figure out, wait. Let me get this. There we go. Goodbye.